Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you can all hear me okay. I'm on my backup microphone because I couldn't get my normal one working this morning. But before we get started, I wanted to announce, okay, great, thank you, excellent. Uh, this afternoon, when we go to the afternoon session, it's not going to be live today. So if you usually come in and watch it live, skip it for today. I'm going to do a recording because my wife has a scheduled medical procedure, but they gave us a huge window of how long it might take. So rather than saying, hey, I might be able to make it, I might not be able to make it, I'm just going to do a recording for today. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in the markets. We'll go to our futures. And the most important thing that I'm looking for right now is, for now, can I rely on technicals once again until the next piece of news, right? And I just want to see if we've come back to some semblance of normality so that we can start trading using technicals. So let's take a look at what's going on in futures. And we are basically flat. Yeah, this is almost 0%. So extremely random this morning. Nothing exciting happening news-wise, and the markets are just flat going in or leading up until this morning. VIX also flat. 10-year note not really doing anything. Let's look at the longer bonds though. So I will look at the financials futures and the 30-year bond. And there we go. Okay, so this is 2-day range. So here's the start. And so you can see we've been trading down. We've been trading down overnight. It's just not somewhat significant. So that means if I look on the TLT as a proxy, yesterday, without the bond market participation, the bond ETF jumped up into its EMA 8. And since we're in a pretty clear downtrend here, we would have expected it to keep on resuming its downtrend after that small pullback, if not to the EMA 20, but that spread is pretty wide. So the more likely event it was to hit that EMA 8 and resume its downward motion, or at least consolidate. So the downward trading in the futures market this morning is aligned with that, and that is a positive sign. That is a sign that there is some normalcy within the bond markets, and that coupled with the futures being flat is showing me that those are good signs that technicals are ruling right now. So we haven't had any major news events overnight. The only development that I heard of or change in the situation in the Israel and Hamas was that some U.S. generals warned Iran not to get involved, so which is not really any news. So everything's looking good so far in terms of volatility, in terms of returning to technicals. So let's take a look at where we might want to look in terms of. Well, let me take a quick look at VIX real fast. Okay, VIX, we hit that peak. We kind of spiked up a little during the day yesterday, but we came right back down to these levels that we've been looking at over here. And looks like so far today we're opening right around the same area. So it looks like that we could either consolidate or resume our motion downward, which would be bullish for stocks. Let's take a look. Since there's nothing really going on in new news events happening from the Middle East, we'll take a look at our economic calendar, which we didn't do yesterday. So it doesn't look like anything's really happening today. And then we have a few Fed speakers. So I don't think they'll move the needle though. Most likely what's going to happen, and this is probably why stocks are doing okay and seem to be trading in their expected pattern technically, which is to start moving upwards, is the conflict over in the Middle East is likely to give the Fed reason to pause interest rate hikes. So if we look at the CME Fed Watch tool, you see that we're even lower now. Last week we were at about 25, 30%. Now we're only about 50% likelihood that rates will be raised in November, and then we have only about 25%. So last week it was a 30 something percent that we would have a rate hike in December. So we've seen a decrease in the likelihood of interest rate hikes. We see a softening in what the Feds are saying. So that is bullish for stocks. So that seems to be more of the focus of the majority of institutional money and asset managers rather than shock in the Middle East. So we want to keep on looking at that. We want to keep on watching TLT carefully, and we will also want to watch oil carefully. And then I forgot to look at that in the futures. So let me take a look at that real fast. Crude oil flat. Okay. So we'll watch crude oil very carefully. We'll watch treasuries very carefully. But so far, it's looking like there's more reasons to be bullish on the market than there are to be bearish. Tomorrow, we've got PPI, that's significant. We'll have FOMC minutes, that's significant. And then on Thursday, CPI and jobless claims. So a lot of big news coming out tomorrow and Thursday. So those, unless something crazy happens, those are most likely to be the news that drives, and those are normal. So we will most likely be returning to looking at our technicals to see where the market is going to go. All right, so let's see where we can find some opportunity in day trading. So for sure, I want to keep an eye on TLT. So there may be opportunities to day trade it, but if I watch it in terms of day trading, then I'm paying attention to it overall as well. We're right at support on TLT in terms of if I look at multi-day and minute charts, you see that there's a nice horizontal level right here. And what I'm going to be watching for in terms of TLT is when we open, do we start moving directionally? Do we chop? Or do we start going up? Or do we start going down? If we start trending one way or the other, then it's likely that we will move pretty significantly in that direction because we're sitting right at support. Either we were going to bounce off of it or we're going to break down through it if we don't consolidate. So here's consolidation, right? If that consolidation continues, then it could be a very quiet day. But if we start moving, then it'll become directional pretty quickly. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for, especially at the open. The open is really where majority of the volume can come in for TLT and for bonds. So I want to see that once that volume comes in, once there are a significant number of traders in the market, do we start moving in one direction or other? If we do, then that's the direction I would be taking my day trades. I also want to keep a careful eye on SPY maybe. I'm actually more interested in the bonds, but SPY could be one. I mean, there's always opportunity, there's always volume and flow in the S&P, so it doesn't hurt to watch that also. But we can also take a look at Juniper. Had some news over, they got downgraded. So there you see this sharp drop overnight. Well, this one didn't give us very good levels to work with though, because it basically just kept on, there were no pauses, right? No rebounds, no pauses. It's basically just a straight line down. So that's going to be difficult. So maybe not Juniper. All right. And I want to, the sectors that we identified yesterday were communications and energy. So those will likely to be in play again today. So continuation of the reaction from yesterday. So I want to pick one from each of those sectors, and the one I like are Google. So pay attention to Google today. All right. And then we're going to do Shell. Shell seems to be pretty active, at least in the pre-market. Right there. Okay. So those are the levels that I'm going to be watching in terms of day trading. So just so you know, this last one I put was where we bounced right here, and we kind of are chopping back and forth above and below that line because there's no volume pre-market. Excuse me. There's no volume pre-market, and so but that is a line that keeps getting crossed in pre-market, and that is a level that where we did react a few times in yesterday's session. So that's how we're drawing the lines today. Let's see if there's anything else to focus on. Oh, earnings. Earnings season is starting to come up, right? So starting this afternoon, you'll start hearing me talk more and more about earnings and taking a look at how we might play earnings throughout this week, and then more and more as earnings season picks up. Okay, hopefully that gives you a good idea of what to focus on during the day. Again, this afternoon, we are not going to be live. So if you come into the room this afternoon, you're just going to see a little message of no live meeting today. It will be a recording. And so I will see you guys tomorrow morning, but just watch out for the recording.